Upon the passage of the Act, Mr. President set up a committee, and it is housed in the office of the Chief of Staff to Mr. President, and they're working on modalities on the implementation. The membership is as follows: the acting governor of the CBN, the Director General of the Budget Office of the Federation, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, and then Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Finance. That is the
acting governor of the CBN?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who again?
There. Director General, Budget Office of the Federation, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, and Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Finance. This committee was inaugurated sometime in June, and they've been working on modalities towards the implementation of the Act. Yes, so that is really all we have to say for this. The committee is working, it has not concluded its job, so we don't have anything to say more than that it is working, and we can't preempt what it is doing. The Chief of Staff is the chair of the committee. The Permanent Secretary is a member of the committee.
Okay. So he mentioned that he was lifting all barriers to accessing the student loans for Nigerian students. This is important to note because in the Act itself, the Act puts limitations on accessing these loans. The Act puts barriers and limits for accessing the loans by parents of the children who should access the loans, limit of 500,000 naira maximum as household income for families. It also makes a requirement for guarantors, parents who sign guarantee forms, lawyer with minimum of 10 or 12 years working experience as guarantors to these loans. We are of the opinion in the House of Reps that these barriers were too stringent and will deprive a lot of our Nigerian students access to higher education. We are not sure how the President intends to implement this act without amendments to the regulation or the act itself, the Student Loans Act. In your view, and in your opinion, and in the opinion of the Ministry of Education, how do you think, or what kind of limits, what are the concepts or the ideas that the ministry has in mind towards the implementation of the President's desire to lift these barriers? Can you throw...
work, and is working assiduously towards working on the best ways in implementing the Act. I am sure the committee will take all of these things, what you have said and other things other stakeholders have already put forward into consideration in arriving at the best way to uplift these stringent barriers that are in the Act and the best way to deal with them.
Conditions that we will gather from Nigerians and stakeholders so that we can make progress on implementation of this Act.
must state clearly that I'm a bit worried with all your responses. Granted the fact that there's committee in place, fine, but you are coming here to meet us. I expect you to come and be armed with details of what you've done so far within the committee. You are representing the permanent secretary. And from experience, I'm of the view that the permanent secretary is likely to be the secretary to that committee, most likely. If not, then you'll be at the secretariat. Even the list that the chairman just asked you now, that was there any time frame for the committee? You are telling us that you have to serve on the committee and there's no time limit? Or you are coming here, you are not aware that there's a time limit for that committee to submit the report? I'm not comfortable with that, Madam.
From Ministry of Education. On a very serious note, if I were the chairman, I would entertain you. We deal directly with him, those in charge. We don't take representation at all. If your PAPSEC was to be around, he would have given us direct answers. You came here unprepared. You came here not taking into consideration that you are coming to meet people, to interact with. I frown at that seriously. Therefore, Madam, go back and tell the PAPSEC we want direct interaction with him, not through representation. Thank you.
Of the permanent secretary, as you've heard, obviously, it seems like the ministry was not prepared to brief us or provide any details to us, or to provide any details to the House of Representatives on the efforts that is being made so far, because you've provided no information whatsoever, apart from the fact that the committee was set up, chaired by the Chief of Staff to the President, and comprising members like you've listed here. But you've provided no details on the time frame or no details of any ideas that are being proposed for amendments to this act, and of course, to help Mr. President, who has shown enormous commitment to implementing the Student Loans Act in the country. This was the first act that Mr. President signed into law on assumption of office, which means Mr. President has the commitment and has a passion to implement the Student Loans Act. And in the course of his national broadcast a few days ago, he mentioned the barriers he intends to lift, and he promised Nigerian students that he was going to implement the Student Loans Act so that no Nigerian student who seeks admission into higher education will be denied. But from us and your representation here today, it seems to us like Mr. President's efforts are not being communicated properly to us or to the Nigerian public. We need more answers because the Nigerians are waiting. Nigerians are desperate to know how these initiatives by the President will be properly executed. This is part of the palliatives that the federal government intends to give to Nigerians. If a student loans program is implemented in the country, apart from the benefit to the Nigerian students, it's a huge benefit to families and to parents. It reduces the burden of paying for school fees for higher education out of pocket. So it frees up resources for families to healthcare, to nutrition for children, and other aspects of their lives, house rents, transportation, and what have you. So this is a very important aspect of the federal government's palliatives, and it's very critical to the 10th House of Representatives, led by the Honorable Speaker, and which is why this ad hoc committee was formed to investigate, to review, and to propose amendments so that Nigerian students don't have to wait for too long before this initiative this scheme is implemented, and students begin to reap the benefits of this proposed Student Loans Act. It's heading towards 2 months since the committee was 17th of June. Today is 10th of August. So it's been almost 2 months since the committee has been working. So we believe that by now, the committee must have come up with some recommendations or some ideas on how they want to proceed. And we're really interested in knowing why there's so much delay in coming up with these proposals. And we are interested in knowing how much longer this committee intends to work and submit their report to us. Because this committee is chaired by the Right Honorable former Speaker of the House of Reps, today now the Chief of Staff to the President. He was the sponsor of the bill that was passed by the House of Reps on student loans. So we know that he has an interest in this matter. But as the 10th House of Reps, we are particularly interested because the public has been so interested and there's been a lot of pressure on this House on some of these issues. And that is why we decided to invite you here today. How soon do you think the Permanent Secretary himself can brief us or can send us a communication to the committee on this matter and the progress of the technical committee unit?
The steps put in place for the actualization of the student loan and what are the challenges. But if I heard you well, the Madam here is not the permanent secretary. And I don't know if it's, in my opinion, necessary for this committee to continue. I don't think it is necessary for us to continue. The permanent secretary has to come and brief us on this important policy of the government. And I'm not sure we just gave this invitation 2 days ago. This notice of today's meeting has been out for the past 3 weeks or so. So, Mr. Chairman, if I have your leave, I want to propose that this meeting be adjourned. Thank you.
By the decisions of the members of this committee, that has been moved to adjourn this meeting until we have the permanent secretary himself to brief the Federal House of Reps through this committee on the steps taken so far to implement the Students' Loans Act for Nigerian students. This committee will adjourn and will be giving the permanent secretary we'll be fixing the date of Tuesday next week. Check what the date was Tuesday next week. Tuesday next week is the 15th of August. Tuesday next week is 15th of August. By 11 o'clock on the dot, we are re-inviting the Ministry of Education, led by the Permanent Secretary himself, to come and brief the committee on the efforts made so far to implement the Students' Loans Act. Let me state for purpose of emphasis that the 10th House of Representatives will not accept situations where members who have been tasked with responsibility to implement government programs and policies are invited to brief our committees and our leadership, and this will be handled with laxity. This happened before, and it led to a lot of disharmony between the leadership and the working relationship between the executive arm of government and the legislature. We hope, because we know that under the leadership of our current president, commitments and the passion he has shown for the issues that have to do with the education sector. And we expect the same thing from the Federal Ministry of Education. And so we're providing another opportunity to come back again, hopefully this time with more details of what needs to be done, what proposed amendments you're suggesting for this Student Loans Act, so that we can facilitate this process for you and on behalf of Nigerians. So with that being said, the committee will go ahead and fix a date for the summit that we're proposing, and we'll begin to work towards convening the summit where all stakeholders in the country will be invited to make proposals and make amendments to the Act. The committee has opened an email address, nigerianstudentloans@gmail.com, for members of the public to send in memoranda and send in suggestions on amendments to this Act. While that is going on, we have also set in motion plans to convene the Student Loans Summit in the National Assembly here. That will probably be in 2 weeks' time, the proposed date of 24th of August. But we're going to fix the 15th of August, which is Tuesday next week, to hear from the Ministry of Education once again, and so that we can move forward on these matters.